for Caleb to turn on the recording equipment. Thank you, Caleb. It is 6 o'clock, and I am calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of East Dundee, Monday, May 19th, 2025.
June 2nd.
June 2nd. I'm looking at the wrong agenda on my June 2nd, 2025. Thank you. Will you take the roll?
Sure.
Ronco.
Trustee Oakland?
Here.
Trustee Guma?
Here.
Trustee Sauter?
Here.
Trustee Saviano?
Here.
Trustee Kunze?
Present.
Trustee Mahoney?
Here.
And President Pearson is in remotely via phone.
Said yes.
Thank you.
Scott. Sorry, Trustee.
Oh, okay. I'd like to make a motion to seat Kathleen as our head of the meeting today.
Second.
All right.
Just do a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
All right. I hope everyone will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, let's open this up for public comment for any agenda or non-agenda items. Did we have anyone sign up?
I did not receive any.
All right. Anybody have any last-minute urge to address the board or need? All right. Then, moving on to announcements, I'd like to have Caleb swear in our new trustee, Ryan Guma.
Hi.
Whoa.
All right. Can you please raise your right hand? I, Ryan Guma,
I, Ryan Guma,
having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of trustee in the village of East Dundee,
of trustee in the village of East Dundee,
in the counties of Cook and Kane, state of Illinois,
in the counties of Cook and Kane, state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of trustee
of trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. All right, lots of swearing in today. Next, I'd like to call the police commission members that will be swearing in our new police officers, Jordan LaBelle and Liliana Wills, and Brandon Watson. 3. A hat trick, or are you going to do it?
Commissioner Tice is good. Tease is going to do
Okay.
it. But just real quick, there's a few things that get me more jazzed up to come and talk to you guys, more so than internal promotions and then introducing you to new police officers, right? And not only do I get to introduce you to one tonight, I get to introduce you to 3.
Hat
So
trick.
Liliana Wills, Jordan LaBelle, and Brandon Watson are all here. They're all going to be individually sworn in by Commissioner Tice. That way they'll have some photo opportunities for their families.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tice.
Well, let's see who's first.
Looks like Liliana.
I've never done this before.
It's all good.
You probably haven't either.
Once kind of in the beginning, right before we left for the academy,
Oh.
not with the crowd.
Just think back to what Ryan did. You're fine. Repeat after me. Shall not yet. State of Illinois, County of Cook and Kane, Village of East Dundee. I, Liliana C. Wills,
I, Liliana Seals,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution Constitution of the State of Illinois
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the Village of East Dundee,
and the ordinances of the Village of East Dundee,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer
for the Village of East Dundee to the best of my ability.
for the Village of East Dundee to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Jordan. Yes. Come on down. Now, you heard Liliana, you obviously memorized everything.
No. I'm trying to break it down.
Okay. Good call. State of Illinois, County of Cook and Kane, Village of East Dundee. Raise your right hand. Which I forgot the last time. I, Jordan D. LaBelle,
I, Jordan D. LaBelle,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the Village of East Dundee,
and the ordinances of the Village of East Dundee,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer
for the Village of East Dundee to the best of my ability.
for the Village of East Dundee to the best of my ability.
There you go. Last but not least, Brandon. You set? All right. State of Illinois, County of Cook and Kane, Village of East Dundee. Raise your hand. Ready? I, Brandon L. Watson,
I, Brandon L. Watson,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the Village of East Dundee,
and the ordinances of the Village of East Dundee,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer
for the Village of East Dundee to the best of my ability.
to the Village of East Dundee to the best of my ability.
There you go.
Well, I like starting out meetings this way, and I want to welcome Ryan, Jordan, Liliana, and Brandon. Welcome to East Dundee.
Thank you.
Hope you can make it home and enjoy your time here. Those are all the pictures you intended, like what we just did. Okay. Did you want to do, did you have something? No. Okay. All right, with that, we can start the bulk of the meeting. If you guys need to leave, we understand, no problem. Thank you for joining us today. I'll take a motion on the first item on the agenda.
I will move
Maybe
to.
we should wait.
Yeah, okay.
We'll wait for everybody to leave.
Maybe we can watch Mission Impossible.
Sorry?
Maybe we can watch Mission Impossible.
It's
Matt,
going to be really
was
distracting.
that your choice, Matt, for the meeting today? The movie?
That's new, isn't it?
Who's lap?
I'm
what I
liking
want
these
to know
new
is whose
styles.
laptop that's reflected.
We're gonna throw a movie on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that new?
Yeah, just,
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Accepted that, so very easy to see.
No one cares. No one cares about us.
Back to normal.
all right, then I think we're safe to start the rest of the meeting. I will entertain a motion for the first item on the agenda.
Okay, I will move to approve regular village board meeting minutes dated May 19th, 2025. I'll also move to accept the warrants list in the amount of $271,141.18. I will also move to approve a resolution granting a license to Habitat for Humanity to allow the temporary installation of 7 sculptures in downtown East Dundee. I will also move to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 133 of the Village Code regarding the regulation of intoxicating hemp and kratom products. And I will also move to approve a resolution approving the First Amendment to the lease agreement for 110 Railroad Street.
Second.
Are there any items that we need to remove? Anybody
Nope.
have questions? Okay, all right.
Trustee Oakland,
Yes.
trustee Guma,
Yes.
trustee Sauter,
Yes.
trustee Saviano,
Yes.
trustee Kunzi,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney.
Yes. All right, and then moving on to the other agenda items. The first one is just a discussion and direction on allowing the operation of non-highway vehicles, golf courts on village streets. Did you want to give any background or have President Pearson give any background?
I am happy to give background unless President Pearson wants to take that on. Okay.
We're talking about golf carts, Dan.
So the idea to allow non-highway vehicles on residential streets in the village came forward from President Pearson, and so staff did some research, consulted with village attorney, compiled the memo you see in your packet. There's basically a state statute that allows municipalities to permit this within their village boundaries, and so we have evaluated potential street crossings because these vehicles are not allowed to be used on highways, so they're not going to be allowed on 72, 25, 68, but they are allowed to cross those highways to get to other places within the municipality. So we've identified some suggested ones, those are open to discussion, and we've also recommended some initial regulatory suggestions regarding age. They can be permitted as young as 16, but staff's recommending 18. We can also require some sort of registration or a fee to have these operating in the village so that we can identify who is driving them or ownership, etc. But we are not recommending a fee, but we're open to some kind of registration if the board feels that's helpful. But beyond that, just want to hear feedback from the board and open it for further discussion.
Alrighty.
Um,
Scott, you want to start?
Okay, so I guess my feeling generally on this is like, I don't see a problem with it. I don't know how necessary it is. I don't know how many golf carts we have in East Dundee. My guess is we don't have many, but I don't know. Maybe we have a lot. It seems like you can only really use a golf cart maybe 100 days of the year in this area. I know in the south these are big, but I don't know. I guess I just feel like it's sort of it's fine. It just doesn't seem like a big need, but it's fine. I would say though that all these crossings, none of them except for Van Buren have a light, and that does make me a little bit nervous. I don't know how we solve that because there's not really a way to get out of the terrace with a light. But that's just something that I noticed and makes me nervous. The other thing is on the speed limit, the 35-mile-an-hour roads, I guess I would want to know what roads are 35 miles per hour and less. And I wonder if we couldn't maybe make a map with 35, because I would almost say maybe it shouldn't be on anything over 30 miles an hour. I don't know what the top speed is, even 25, but I think...
Most of the residential streets or the feeder streets are at 25.
Right, most of them
When
are.
you
There
get
are a
into
few
the Penny
30s, I
and-
think. That's why I thought maybe
Yeah.
30 would be a little bit more permissive. I would, I guess, like to see what roads that would include. And other than that, with all the, I didn't understand when we say that we want a slow-moving emblem on the rear of the cart. What would that look like?
It's one
I
of
think
the
that's
orange
that
triangles.
Yeah, that
It's-
seems excessive to me. Like, I don't think we need that.
Like, is it obvious? If it's a golf cart, it's
Right,
probably slow
exactly. That's
moving.
kind of what I was
Unless
thinking.
it's like turbo.
If I may.
Yes.
Just my help with visibility would be the only thing I can
Yeah.
think of if it's fluorescent, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But they're required to have taillights already?
Yes.
Yeah,
Tail lights, brake lights, headlights, turn signals, rear view mirrors.
right.
And they
Side
gotta
mirrors.
be on all the time, is my
Seat
take
belts.
too, for the headlights and taillights, correct?
I believe so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Do some research.
It's all right.
Oh, you could.
I was just gonna mention that the emblem is a state requirement. It's not something that we can sort of exempt
Really?
ourselves from. So
Okay.
everything in that minimum vehicle requirement is from the state
Okay.
Gotcha.
regulation.
Okay.
And then you also referenced Hot Wheels golf cart, right, regulations as well. My question, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Complete.
good. That's all
We've
I
done-
really need
okay.
to say about that.
So do golf carts have to be licensed by the state or any kind of authority right now? Going back to whether or not they have to register.
Right, so as far as I understand it, if you own one personally, you don't have to register it. But if you.
Okay, so there's no like license plate or anything like that, or motorcycle or whatever. Right, okay.
I personally would want some kind of identifying marker on the back in case it got into some kind of anything, just kind of like how we have license plates on our cars. I know the UTVs up in Wisconsin are a big thing all over, and they do got actual license plate on them so that anybody could see who they are if they ran it. I was okay with just the 16. I didn't know how anybody else felt because you would already have a driver's license, so I was wondering what the difference was between 16 and 18 and what the concern was there.
I have the same question.
Yeah, so. Anybody want to explain the 18 requestment, the request?
They have to be licensed drivers.
Yeah, okay,
It's just that
okay.
And part of that is, when you get a driver's license in the state of Illinois, it's a graduated driver's license, so you don't get to start driving with passengers until you meet a certain time requirements. So, if, for the first 6 months, you can only have one passenger, it has to be family, and then after 6 months, you could have more than one. So if you give a 16-year-old who has a driver's license, a license to drive a golf cart on village streets on day one, it's just, there's just a little less maturity there, and there's a little more concern for safety.
Mm-hmm. Can we match the driver's license graduation of you can't have passengers in a car, then you can't in a golf cart either until, just make them sync up and match?
Yeah.
Seems,
That's logical.
it
to
seems
me.
like
I
a
think you
lot
can't.
to consider. Maybe we should just make it 18, and if we don't.
I think, yes, is the answer to your question. I think enforceability would probably be a nightmare
Right.
for chief and his crew.
Oh.
Oh, well, I was trying to go for simplified. If we're already able to check it for a car, it seems like it'd be the same thing for a golf cart, but it's kind of messy to figure out on a license if they're allowed to have passengers.
No, as soon as we run it, it'll tell us where they're at in the graduated portion of their license holder. if that makes sense.
Okay. All
Because
right.
it's almost like a training for driving. It's a lot simpler. Like if I had a 16-year-old that I was trying to teach to drive a car, it seems like taking him out in the golf cart would be a nice before you're out in the car. I don't know. I don't have kids, so.
But the risks are probably similar, as they cross the highway and things like that, and you don't have the pickup. So that's where I'm a little back and forth on it. I just wouldn't want an extra enforcement of saying, is that person 18 or not? And since we really don't know who's in them, because it's not the same as a license plate, I don't know how to be enforced. So.
Okay, my next sticky question is, to own these, do you need to be insured? So there's the whole liability insurance and everything else that would go along similarly to a car or motorcycle. In order to operate it, you'd have to hold the liability, and if you chose the comprehensive, okay. The president is concurring.
Now, is this also gonna include like UTVs and off-road motorcycles? Is that my take on it too? Or is that part of our discussion?
It's a slippery slope, right?
The state statute allows for that, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
The state statute allows for what?
Utility vehicles or ATVs, if they're street legal, with turn signals, mirrors, brake lights, headlights.
It allows for it already, or it allows?
Yes.
Okay.
But if the board wanted to only allow golf cart types, you could, under your purview. Didn't have, you don't have to do the motorcycle or anything else.
Off-road
Off-road
motorcycles.
motorcycle, sorry.
so like with all these electric bikes, I see them on the bike trail every day. They're like the equivalent of like a dirt bike. And though they're fast and they do their things, I'm not bothered by them. I don't know if there's been any enforcement on it. So they would be then pretty much allowed to drive on our streets, but they would also need the lights also, correct? In fact,
To even ride a bicycle at night, you
Okay.
usually have that light.
To ride,
Even to ride a bicycle at night, to do it legally, you're supposed to have tail light and a headlight.
okay.
Yeah.
okay. And then the UTVs, we've seen a lot of other states use them. They're super common in Wisconsin. I don't really see any problem with those. Those probably arguably are safer than cars. They got full roll cages and stuff in them. They are capable of extreme speeds though, so we would just have to make sure that they abide by the existing laws, right? Of if it's a 30-mile-an-hour street, they would have to stay 30 or lower, right? So,
Am I the only one that doesn't know what a UTV is?
so it's a side-by-side kind of four-wheeler. So instead of sitting front and back, it's side-by-side, and they sit inside of it. And they're kind of like dune buggies.
Okay.
There's like a whole culture of it up north.
Trish is gonna show you a picture.
I can add too, there's only 2 streets in town where speed limits exceed 25, that's Water and Elgin, and they're otherwise all streets are.
Okay.
With the exception of Roslyn, which is down to 20, and the school's owned by, not being ground.
Water and
So Water and Elgin, are both 30. So Elgin south of.
And what do we have that's 35? Nothing?
I don't see any 35s in town. The 30 is the highest, just on the street.
One thing to consider, do we want to say electric only? And like if we're opening the door to a lot of these gas-powered ones that are very noisy, dirt bikes and ATVs, that might keep the noise level down. Because I think if the golf cart is the goal, I don't know golf carts well, but I'm guessing they're mostly electric and these others are gas-powered.
They come both. So like, I would say it's half and half for electric and gas. I would say with like the noise, I live by a bar that motorcycles go to a lot. So I kind of get it already. And 72 Bridge, it just whips by all day. So I don't know if these would be a huge culprit of noise. And as we said before, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of people using them. My guess is it's going to be a limited amount of people, especially at first. So.
I would agree with you.
What is that face?
Oh, I'm just, I feel like I was-
Dan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, if you guys don't mind. So, I think we're starting to go way off topic here. We're starting to worry about turn lights and things like that. In order for it to be on the streets of Illinois, it's got to have brakes, it's got to have steering, tires, rearview mirror, it's got to have one devices, it's got to have headlights, it's got to have seatbelts, and seats. So, I mean, all this is a regular car, it's just a little bit smaller and slower. I mean, we have 3 vehicles on the road right now that go 130 miles an hour. We have laws for that. We have to be insured and we have to be a licensed driver to be able to do this. Again, I I could jump on a street moped, and that's legal, and that does the same speed, maybe a little slower than a golf cart. So, I think we're getting way too deep into this, more than it needs to be.
Welcome to the East Dundee trustees exploring all of the possibilities of a slippery slope.
Go ahead.
I think it's gonna be limited at first, and we'll see how it goes, and then at that point, if we need parking and stuff like that, we can go to that, but right
Yeah.
now, let's just see if we have a big problem. It's just trying to get our neighbors out and get people to downtown and be more of an active community while we're looking at this.
All right.
I was personally okay with the dirt bikes and UTVs, so that's why I was bringing it up to see like would it include them, because the kids are using them like crazy now. It's becoming really common. You see groups of people. In this case, they would need their licenses, so they wouldn't be included. But you're really starting to see a trend of these electric motorcycles, and so obviously they wouldn't be included because they'd have to be 16 or older. But there is also a lot of people that buy UTVs and then use them for up north for hunting or whatever. It'd be cool if they could be included too, so they wouldn't have to just have a specialized vehicle for town. So.
Yeah, I agree. The UTVs are just as good, and they have all the seatbelts and the requirements too. And again, we have laws that people have to follow in the road of their car. If you're on the street in Illinois, you have to follow the law.
I think this is a good test too, because once Hager is redeveloped, and then we want to extend the downtown on both sides of 72, we'll have that bridge, that transformation of just being able to drive a golf cart there. So I think it's a good test to get it like figured out now before the development happens.
Yeah, and just the other thing that Dan had mentioned to me when we talked about this before is that it takes up a lot less space to park.
Well, it's still gonna take a whole parking spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if we have people who actually use it and we find there's like a dozen in our town, we can find a spot to make little tiny spots for them that don't take up the big spots. Like motorcycle, ATV, golf cart spots. You could
Coordinate
pack
with a
more of
friend.
them
Coordinate with a friend, yes, there you go.
Yeah.
in. But yeah, they would take up a full spot at first.
Was there anything else you wanted to add as far as consideration of addressing the attorney, village attorney?
No, I think
Okay.
everything is in the memo.
What other direction do you need?
It sounds like there's general consensus to proceed, so we can draft an ordinance and bring it back. I did hear some desire to have at least a registration, so I'm going to proceed with some kind of registration, even though it would be free. People would just have to register either online or come down to Village Hall and then get some kind of numerical emblem,
Placards,
like a sticker kind of thing that would have to be affixed, just so that if something did happen, we
Yeah,
would.
like a village sticker. Village sticker or something.
Yeah.
Should we charge a nominal fee to cover some of the expenses? $25?
It's up to the board.
I mean, I think that, yeah, if we're gonna be giving out
For to print stickers and stuff.
Yeah, just cover the
card
sticker cost.
or license plate or something,
Okay.
we should
Yeah.
at least charge cost for that. I personally feel like 18 is a good barrier. I agree with the 18 idea personally, just wanna say that.
Yeah, I'm flexible on that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So I would suggest to give us time to draft an ordinance and then educate the community, maybe a July 1 start date. Does that work for everyone?
Sure.
That's fair.
There was also a inspection fee of $100 and then a yearly inspection of $50 mentioned, but
That was in McHenry.
oh, okay. But yeah, I don't think that
think
inspecting
we
it
should
for
do that.
safety is probably good for us to do, but
No,
Well-
that puts more burden on them.
And have it ready by June 16th.
So we will bring it back for the June 16th meeting for approval, but after it's approved, I'd like to do at least a week of education to the community before it actually starts. So that's why I was suggesting July 1.
Okay. That works.
Just in case it doesn't actually pass, I don't like to count my chickens before they're hatched. Not that I'm not expecting it to, but it's just, I wouldn't even put the statues out before you guys approved them tonight.
Before people buy them on Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, we got the statues?
We got the statues on Friday, and they wanted to start putting them out, and I said,
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
just in case anything happens, always better to make sure it's approved before you start doing anything.
Yes.
We already approved those, yes.
We did approve them.
That was in the consent agenda.
Start putting them out tonight.
Bill.
All right.
All right.
All right.
I think we're good.
Okay. Then moving on to the next item, I'll entertain a motion for item B.
I will move to approve a resolution waiving bidding requirements and approving an agreement for conceptual design services with White and Company for a multi-purpose sound stage.
I'll second it.
We have White and Company
Are they here?
Oh, we have Caleb.
here. We have Caleb. Just as good.
Just maybe better.
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, so, we wanted, after we purchased the gravel lot, the, soon to be the grassy lot, we started researching looking at various companies and vendors who could construct this for the spring of 2026, if that was what the board wanted. So we have a proposal presented to you tonight from White and Company, who they have a design to build model that we believe would benefit that timeline if that's what the board decided for the spring construction, and that would be, they also did the South Elgin band shell that you see pictured in the packet. And that was a huge reference for our research, as we solicited this proposal. I'm here to answer any questions you have, but basically, if approved tonight, we would obviously enter an agreement with White and Company and would start two things. We would move on to phase one designs, bring back conceptual designs at some point in the coming months, and we would also work on a part of their proposal would include reaching out to the community and starting to get community feedback as well, and so that would be a focus of ours moving forward.
You're going to get feedback from the community on the design, or
on design, the overall pavilion of that space, just opening up.
Placement.
For
Sound,
community
noise
feedback in that whole
issues.
area, just what they would like to see.
placement.
They're also gonna, in this cost, design essentially the whole area, right, of that new
Correct.
piece of property?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would be, and Phil, let me know if I'm mistaken, but it would be basically from the north Railroad Street
Correct.
down to Hill Street. Yes.
So it's community feedback on land use too, so they can say like, no, I want to see something completely different
Yeah, I
there.
mean,
It's
just so staff can kind of gather community feedback similar to what we did. It would be an open house, so we can just hear thoughts and opinions and bring that to the table to inform potential phase two designs.
I saw they were charging $4,500 to do that, community feedback.
Mhm.
Is there gonna actually be community feedback? Is that a waste of money?
It was, as of now, it was staff's opinion that would be a good use of getting out to an event, a village event, and Thirsty Thursday, somewhere where there's a lot of population, and really getting feedback, so there is no, just so the community has a chance to have a voice for a big piece of property in the downtown area for that
So they're gonna
development.
send staff from their company to like a Thirsty Thursday and go around with notepads? and
Yeah,
talk to people?
details would still be worked out on that actual event, but yes, that would be the idea.
And also, we'd like to get business feedback too, because some of the businesses will be hosting private events open to the public, similar to like the whiskey and cigar social, stuff like that. So we want to make sure that whatever we build is multi-purpose for a wide variety of uses. And we've talked about whether this could potentially be rented for weddings or things like that. We want to make sure that we maximize its potential because it really has the capacity to bring a lot of events and other proposals that we're not thinking of right now.
We could bring back Duke's Blues thing back to East Dundee, potentially, too. you know.
Caleb, do you know how much money that we spend now on the stage, putting it up and taking it down for all our events? Or do you guys have
Saw
a
that
rough
somewhere.
idea?
What we spent on it.
I don't have those numbers in front of
That's
me.
all right.
Thursdays, we rent the stage for wind downs, we have our own that we set
Okay.
up. And that stage was, we bought it 2 years back. It's like 15,000, I think was the wind down Wednesday stage.
But we still have to have,
You know, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but we,
That information and bring it back to you.
it was just for reference, kind of to show like what it's saving us
Right.
by building a stage like this.
Sure.
And I know you guys are, and it seems like a timing issue, like let's jump to white right away so we don't have to spend more time finding an architect firm, correct?
correct,
And the more time we save, the
yeah,
more money we
because
save.
Right.
the idea, I mean, we didn't start working on this until after we purchased that property, and then when that became a reality, that's when we really started. So if we did enter an agreement and we like the conceptual designs, staff can solicit a phase 2 proposal from them. So it's really kind of a step-by-step process that we could take with them.
Is the phase 2 proposal going to be like the drawings that will actually have bids to them then?
Yes, it would be the actual phase 2 engineering, it would be the actual realities, measurements, things like that, that would help us. The idea with our current timeline, our working timeline, would be to go out to bid in November. And that would be the idea, to solicit, a good variety of proposals for spring.
Is this picture, that's the one in Elgin,
Correct.
is that going to be the basis of our design, or are we going to have something completely different?
Our basis of design, we'll make sure is incorporated with the wayfinding signage that we're working on, and so no, that would not, we will have.
I was thinking, yeah, we should give them our arch design,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that would be
We've spent money on it.
something we could incorporate into this, I would imagine.
I think they put that in here, that they're gonna incorporate our new,
Yes,
right here, White will also work with staff and the village board to design a concept that utilizes the same or complementary materials to the arch that was
Yes,
approved.
perfect.
Yes. So that would be the idea.
Good.
We got some synergy going.
And the South Elgin stage has electrical, so you can have, different levels of electrical connections for the higher power bands versus just the guitar player or
Yeah,
organ system or keyboard.
yeah.
I think as long as we keep the pattern we've done, like with the parking garage and the design and the ability to say yes and change it and all that, like everything turned out fantastic on that. So I'm
Yeah.
very trusting of how we do it.
Question, does White, are they design only, or do they do construction?
They do both. They have a design to build model, so, we're obviously not locking the village into a full design build yet, but we could go all the way through construction. So when we bid it out, they theoretically could bid on that.
Or we could open the bidding up to McHugh or
I was just gonna say, we should give them a cue back.
somebody
They did
else.
a great
is-
job.
Additional people besides just White.
Right.
Yeah.
And even I don't know who Howard Chalk is using for his pavilion, or how
Mhm.
it will end up resonating with
Sure.
what our style guide, kind of unguided style guide is.
Mhm.
I guess we have one kind of for the historic area. Do we, is there any way we could find out from South Elgin kind of what this stage ended up running them?
Yeah, we,
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, you do?
Might take me a few minutes to find it.
I saw it too. I think it was like 275,000, somewhere in there. But that was several years ago, so
Mm.
In that range.
I'm good.
All right, we ready to call the question?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Franco.
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of good and nice.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Oakland?
Yes.
Trustee Duma?
Yes.
Trustee Sauter?
Yes.
Trustee Saviano?
Yes.
Trustee Coonsey?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes. All right, that's great. great. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, discussion and direction on conceptual designs for a native plant garden at Village Hall. Who's taking this on? All
Hi.
right, Caleb, busy man.
It's been a busy couple weeks. So I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Okay. So this is another project we're working on. So what's presented in the packet is for a native plant garden that would go right outside the Village Hall. It'd be in front of the police station, and it would take up those 5 parking spaces. So what we're bringing, the Arts Council has run with this project and has used Hitchcock Design Group to actually design some drawings and renders. These are the finalized renders that you see. And if basically what we're wanting tonight is discussion and direction. If there's anything else we would need to be incorporating, and then we would bring back a phase 2 proposal from Hitchcock to present for the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Are we saying this is the design, or are we asking what
This is the
should-
design currently, and then
Okay.
if there's any notes or suggestions from the board tonight.
I see.
And we've talked about it at various arts council meetings and have already tweaked it, so this is what we've come to after some tweaking.
Okay.
So
What were some of the ads?
there were a lot of harder edges on the other one. We like the idea of the circles and just like more of a flow with this. Benches, we wanted more seating spots for gathering. What else, Andy, am I missing?
There
I
was
think bollard lighting was added too.
Yeah.
Bollard lighting was the big change from the last section. We also moved some trees around to account for the police cameras that are nearby from there.
Visibility, yes.
And then there is a drainage lid, for lack of a better term. So the portions of the flower beds, those were all kind of adjusted.
Well, I had some thoughts about this. We've been hearing this billed as, a native plant garden. And I see this more as like there's a lot of hardscape. There's a ton of hardscape here for what I would call a native garden. And so either it's, change the name of the recipe and keep it like this, or take another look, and then just some suggestions on some ways to limit. I do like the round circles a lot. I feel like there might be too many necessary pathways. For instance, the one along the street here where you've got 2 half circles. Just get rid of the thing in the middle and just make it one big, kind of serpentine type of garden space, and making sure that you have the entry points.
Like not the one at the tip of the dark car? Are you saying
Yes.
Not that?
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
Yeah.
So like
That's
over in
right.
blue, like that
Yeah.
corner.
Get rid of the garden?
Get rid of the walkway.
Get
over
rid of
there.
the walkway. I want to see more green space. I think is and planter space. If we can kind of maintain the plants, especially with the kind of backdrop we have with the mural.
That's awesome.
And between the brick that's surrounding it, and then you've got everything, just opening it up to more green space, I guess.
I'm sure we could thin out the brick too, like it doesn't have to be as wide.
Right.
Yeah, just-
Yeah.
So 2 things to add. One, that would be part of, if we did get a phase 2 proposal, we would make sure the measurements would be as narrow as possible. So it's hard to kind of tell with this. Or we'd make sure that it would be more plants and the trails would be as narrow as possible. The other thing to mention, and it's hard to tell, but the trails, so the brick pavers on the side are the brick pavers. The other trails are like dirt pathways. So it'd be more in keeping with.
They're stone.
Crushed rock.
Yeah, crushed rock.
Okay.
So that would be more in keeping with the native plant aspect
So
of it.
there's infiltration
Right. Okay.
kind of built into the walkway. We could certainly reduce the number of walkways, like we did
It's,
the crushed rock.
yeah, like,
Or the dogways.
I get what you're trying to do along the village hall, because right now there isn't really a walkway, right now it's just asphalt. So you would wanna have kind of a walkway going that way. But then we do have kind of a cement apron or walkway in front of the police department entrance. So kind of balancing that out. And just, and while I appreciate you saying, yeah, let's make it narrower, let's make it sure it's wide enough for ADA and all that kind of good stuff. And this crushed limestone or rock or whatever you have, is that something that can be wheelchair accessible? I guess wheelchairs can go around the hardscape.
I don't like the crushed rock.
Okay.
It's gonna get kicked into the sidewalk, it's gonna
Maintenance.
get kicked into the pavers. I don't know. Just a concern, I guess, but are we saving a lot of money doing it that way?
Not necessarily savings on that, but I can look into it.
Okay.
The idea really that was driving that was trying to be in keeping with the native plant garden aspect of it. We can see if there's anything
Wouldn't we
finer.
just do turf? Couldn't you just do sod turf in there?
We could. It kind of is a little counterintuitive to the native plant garden aspect of it, but we could add that in.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Turf might be a little less accessible for wheelchairs.
Yeah.
What if we were just to do flow-through pavers for all of it? Like you have the pavers now,
Yeah.
and then you have the area with the crushed rock, and you did flow-through pavers, then you'd kind of reach both, and then it would be ADA accessible.
You know, they have some pavers permeable where they have like little openings. in
Right.
it.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
have more of a-
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
You probably,
Yeah.
So then you could have the mosses or native plants growing up in between the
Mhm.
the permeable pavers.
Permeable, yeah.
Very mid-century.
So one thing to know on that would drive up costs, but of course we'll add that in and see what they can come up with.
But I see what you mean about the maintenance on the crushed rock,
Yeah.
just going everywhere.
it's not too different from what we had around the depot for,
Yeah,
Many years.
which wasn't great, which we don't have there anymore, right?
Right.
For a reason.
And it's also what we have on our path down by the river, which
very similar, yes.
gets completely worn off and, doesn't look great after a couple of years, I don't think.
I will say the flow and the look of it is amazing. I just was saying to a couple of the other trustees coming in, like if someone was upset when they came into the office or the building, it might calm them down quite a bit. It's gorgeous. It really is. I know we're talking different ideas on
Very wishful.
material, but it's gorgeous. So.
Yeah, optimism.
Yeah.
Two other things to add. So as part of the native plant garden, this is in the memo, but the Arts Council kind of started this idea was a hope to create a program, native plant garden program for residents where they can learn how to make their own at home or things like that. And so the idea, there'd be some placards as you can see in this image. We do not know what would be on those placards, but it'd be some type of
Like what flowers.
educational aspects to it. And then the benches here, Public Works will, we have some timbers, we'll be able to create the benches for it. So if we did want to continue, so what I'm hearing, we'll take these notes, we'll kind of refine the renders, but I'm hearing maybe we can continue on with the phase 2 proposal as along with those updated renders, and then bring it back. And I'll talk to Eric about how we want to do that.
So we'll have a couple different concepts to look at.
It'll be the same concepts with the added notes of what we were just talking about. And see how-
Material changes.
Materials, and we can, the cost opinion that's in here, that will obviously change, but we can look at other materials. The last big thing I should mention is, it is staff's, we're anticipating, and we've talked to both companies, we have Burke, Christopher B. Burke Engineering that's doing the diagonal parking project later this year. We have talked to both them and Hitchcock Design Group about, eventually that will be folded in to Burke's project, so to try to lower costs as much as possible. Public Works will be able to do some aspects of the work as well, trying to keep it as low as possible. But because Burke is already doing the exterior portion, we wanted to make sure that this was accounted for if the project was wanting to move forward.
I love it. How long has Arts Council been working on that?
Couple months,
Yeah,
or
a
the
few
first of the
months,
year,
yeah.
probably, we started talking about it.
I
Yeah.
think the idea
great.
was last year.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
We started talking about it.
So when do you need an answer by,
Well,
to incorporate
yeah.
companies to work together?
Well, so I don't know yet. Basically, what my next steps is going to be is I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow. We're going to, the Hitchcock Design Group has been great with this process, and they obviously deliver these designs that really get conversations going. We will see what their timeline is. We're going to bring it back on the consent agenda for the 16th, but we may need to bring it back at a later meeting because it sounds like we'll need more discussion and approval on it. So.
We have a couple
If-
of months.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
2 weeks.
Make your decision. Phil's gonna start his whittling class, so for the
I've
benches.
seen this crushed stone, a little more recently, and I think they do a nice job with it. And I've seen people, walking on it, and they put tables and wheelchairs and bicycles, so I don't know. I think if the cost goes up drastically, we could start with this, and if we really wanna do pavers a year from now, or a couple of years from now, we can upgrade it.
Some of those crushed rock products do compact very well.
Yeah. Push it down.
Some not as much, but some, so we can emphasize a product that does compact well and stays in place. And that concrete curbing will help keep it confined, if you will, to the walkway pathways.
And I have taken my dad's wheelchair through terrain like that just fine.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
I was just gonna say, when we do the flower beds and stuff, there's that whole Monarch initiative going on right now. I think a lot of communities have really embraced it with planting milkweed and things like that. It'd be a good opportunity for us to, expand if we've already done it or become part of that by maybe reaching out to that initiative to see if there's a way they could set up one of the circles to be Monarch-friendly plants. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. And the only other thing would be those placards. They're up really high, and there are a lot of visual noise, and I've seen them at other places where they're just a couple feet off the ground, and they're a little bit less
Intrusive.
They're not like, it's me, a placard, let's look at the flowers instead.
Okay. So
Okay.
lower on the placards.
Visual noise.
And then I guess, is there any?
Sorry, I'm talking designery.
Is there any additional thoughts on the bollard lights or direction with that?
I love the idea of the bollard lights. Again, keeping in mind, what is the optimum height and keeping them as low as possible. We've got other overhead lights or street lights that will be on, as far as safety goes. And I believe the entrance is motion controlled to the police department too. So I think it's more mood lighting and safety lighting for when you're walking, not necessarily lighting up the whole neighborhood. Have we shown this to the people that are directly across the street from this? I'm sure they'll be more than thrilled with the way it's going, but
I have not.
the residents that live in Leo's old house across the street.
And we can get that out to them.
Yeah. They're gonna be affected. Anything else? Keep saying anything else and we're good, and then there's one more thing. Okay.
No, I'm good.
All right. Then moving on to the next, you got enough direction? All right. You
Thank
got
you.
enough direction? I'm sorry, should be asking you, Kelly? All right.
He's like, stop talking.
All right.
Is it gonna be one way before or after the garden, was the question? Before.
Or,
Yeah. So that project will happen before.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to affect anybody, driving, I guess they would be northbound and not being able to see cars, so, no, it's irrelevant at this point.
Sightlines. Sightlines when they're working is the concern. Okay. Alrighty. Entertain a motion for item D.
I will move to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 151 of the Village Code restricting use of rooftops as rooftop decks.
Second.
Alright. Who wants to back up on this? and
Well,
Background on
I have a
that.
question, because reading this ordinance, the one thing I don't understand, if we're asking people to get permits to use their rooftops, are we saying you need to get a permit for every event that you want to use your rooftop, or is it like a one-time permit and then you have, free reign?
It's a one-time.
Okay.
But you would have to have the correct safety requirements.
Well, yeah, we would get the one, you'd have an inspection. Once you pass that inspection, you get your permit though, you're free to go. You're free to use it whenever you want.
So is that like the building inspector and fire department purview, or?
Building inspector.
Chris and I would do together.
Okay.
My question is for events like the parade for safety and having people on rooftops, does that negate it during events like that? Because we are trying to prevent people being on a rooftop during a parade because of events?
Sounds like you're asking a constitutional question.
Okay. Thank you.
So what we can't do is limit the expression of speech,
Okay.
or we can't make it content-based.
Got it.
The village has the absolute right to regulate for safety. So if fire department and Chris go out there and say, okay, this is fine, but capacity needs to be 10 people, then at a parade, you better not see 30 or 40 people on that rooftop, right? And the other idea is to, serving the dual purpose, the village will then know who's authorized to use their rooftop pursuant to a permit and not, so chief can plan ahead of time for those parade events and say, okay, buildings X, Y, and Z, we expect people to be on those rooftops. Where we don't expect people to be, that haven't been inspected, he'll know that too.
Okay.
So, from the village's perspective, with this ordinance, it's safety first in terms of the structure, the integrity, the use. Could imagine people leaning against a shaky railing and.
Yeah, no thanks.
Right. So no, we can't regulate because it's a parade.
Got it. That's fair.
But
Although
if
we
they,
tried and we were rebuffed by our village too.
right, but if they
I
follow,
like to keep you out of trouble.
Do you know what committee I'm on? Do you have any idea why I asked that?
but if they followed all these regulations, they could still be on that roof during a parade.
Yes.
So
But I
it
think,
wouldn't
again,
remove them.
the
Give us the
benefit of
ability
it,
to-
chief will then know where they are and
Okay.
we'll know
It's
how.
new use as well, too.
Yeah.
They're going from a business Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, to an assembly during the weekend where they're having a gathering of people. So that will help the requirement as far as egress lighting and exit signs. That's what I mean, Chris was talking about.
Where has this happened at?
Mark, could you talk about?
Yeah, can you step up?
Seller marketing. That's
Okay.
maybe the only.
Seller.
The ones that we know for sure are the Zeller building is one of them. There's one above Aliano's, but that's residential and that's off limits. That's no-go. The only other two that face fourth. Pardon?
What does that mean?
That means we have no jurisdiction over residential building. I can't go inside and tell them what they can and cannot do. So, yeah.
This ordinance would allow
this-
the village.
The village too. Yeah, I still cannot, yeah. Chris would be able to, Mr. Renier would still be able to go in there for building code and ordinance.
So this is specifically targeted at businesses doing this, using their.
Yeah.
Is this considered DC
It's,
cods
no,
as
it's
well?
Well,
any,
and the
it's
resident.
any rooftop,
Mhm.
it's any rooftop being used for these purposes.
Once we do this, it would.
It's any rooftop, but technically only 3 or 4 are actually accessible per building, current building codes to be used. The rest are just for maintenance. Only 3 have patios, I believe, or 4. The rest face 4th Street, so.
Yeah, does this count like a planned patio, for instance, about DC Cobb's? Does that count as a rooftop?
So that was already permitted and inspected as part of the building construction.
Yeah.
So it's already
Okay.
been rated for the capacity and it's,
And engineered,
gone through the
actually.
process.
But this would be for River Street Tavern, like
Yeah.
if they're getting ready to do their rooftop. this
Like
would
Willow
be-
Birch is the
Okay.
same thing, that was already rated and approved for the business, they have one that faces Fourth. Lab has one that faces Fourth as well, that was already approved with their occupancy, it's the ones that are businesses that were facing this way, not using as assemblies during events.
Okay.
And one
So
from a
the-
business using it for a break room is, we're gathering 50 people during the weekend,
Right.
So like the Zeller Marketing Building, they spent a few $100,000 building that third level, which is contained indoors on the back half and then has a patio on the other half. And then it raises up before it goes another 4 feet to the edge. So they've already gone through all of their building permits when they built it and made sure they followed all of that. And then we would pass this that would be a whole new set of requirements. They would have to reinvest a bunch of money on their building, or they're not allowed to go out onto their patio again. until
I
they
wasn't
do it.
around when they built that patio, but I could tell you, they wouldn't be required anything new, they'd be required to make sure that they're maintaining what should have been there. Because I can tell you now, I've been on
It'd
this
be on us if
roof,
we didn't inspect it properly.
I can't say
Because
that.
I'd like to make the case of grandfathering in existing structures that have already gone through the process, they've already made an investment.
But none of these existing structures, DC Cobb's, Zeller, Aliano's, have had capacities associated with them.
Well, I'd be okay with saying, let's add a capacity for your roof.
Yeah.
What we're saying in this language is there'll be a whole new set of rules. If you don't meet them, you can't use your roof ever again. So that seems extreme to me, as opposed to some limited rules for just parade gatherings that happens one day a year. And then saying, if you have gatherings that can be no more than so many people because of what it's rated for.
Yeah, I can't answer for what the village is going to enforce or require, I can only answer myself personally for what we're
Now-
required fire code. So-
Now, we're gonna say that this is a residential house, or building, and it's got a flat roof. It's gonna be 2 points of egress, 42-inch railings, structurally engineered deck. So it's gonna be pretty hardcore for somebody to hit that.
I would not be involved on that one.
Right,
So,
but
yeah,
that's probably
Mr.
what we're gonna be
Wheeler,
looking at.
yeah.
And then if I wanted, so I own that building and I wanna have, a rooftop garden or greenscapes up there, how would that be affected, And then what's a gathering? Is it me going up there with my mom to check out my garden?
Social
Like,
gathering. It's what the code defines as an assembly use. It's different when you're a business operating 9 to 5 as a business class occupancy, and then on a Saturday, you're having 40 people for a barbecue, and you're a registered business.
Or a
That's
special event or something.
different
like
use. So,
so the business is charging people to go up there?
No. I mean,
Can't answer
if we're
that.
talking about Zeller Marketing. 'cause
No, I'm just wondering if, like Zeller sounds like they went through the protocol, but I'm kind of thinking of the people who haven't gone through the protocol.
yeah, I didn't.
Because then they're a business and then it's commercial, right?
I didn't
So
bring
they'd
this up
be-
for discussion. This
Okay.
was brought up with the building inspector.
It's fine, I'm
Said,
just
"What would
trying
I
to-
require?"
Yeah.
And I said, I, as a fire department, and the fire and life safety code, would just make sure, in all honesty, their egress is, it's whatever the building inspector's gonna require on that part, so.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know
just,
if, Ms. Storley can answer more
just
than I
for the
can.
context,
Okay.
we did get concerns raised after parades in recent years about people being on the rooftops and it making the crowd uncomfortable. So we inquired about the ability,
Which crowd was it making uncomfortable?
Parade.
people participating in the parade.
We're uncomfortable because people are on the roof.
Yes. After the highway.
So
park.
we inquired about ways that we could restrict the usage of rooftops during parades to prevent mass shootings. We were told that's not something that we can do because people have properties and people have rights to use those properties. So this ordinance doesn't require anything other than complying with current building codes. So we're not asking people to invest in any additional requirements. We're only asking them to comply with the bare minimum building code requirements that are currently in place, which they would have to do anyways. So from the public safety perspective, chief's gonna know who has a permitted rooftop. He's gonna know which buildings people are allowed to be on and which ones are not. And so if we have a parade or any other special event and the fire department is using their drone to see what's going on, they're gonna know if somebody's on a rooftop they're not supposed to be on. So that is what this ordinance is trying to achieve. And we're not trying to make this a difficult process. The permit is free. It's pretty,
But the cost isn't though. Like you would have to have structural engineer drawings for your roof to see that it held capacity. You would have to have egress design, railings. The cost might be free for the permit, but all the cost to bring it up wouldn't be. So the permit's like a nominal number to make a house. And I look at it from like a person owns a home already, not an abuser, wants to go on their roof from time to time. Like, that's who I'm looking at. How does it affect them negatively?
Well, it wouldn't, what he's saying is it wouldn't apply to residential.
no, it would
No,
apply to
it
residential.
would. I would not. I
Change
can't
the
answer
ordinance
for
to
anything.
Fire
outside
district is
residential.
not authorized
No, I'm
to
not
go
authorized to go
in
residential.
residence.
The village does.
Engineering.
I haven't.
So I can't answer residential questions, that's all I was stating.
I feel like we need some more information from Chris.
Yeah.
We can have
I
Chris
agree.
come next time, but the thing is, from the perspective of all of us being charged with safeguarding the public, building codes exist for a reason. We're not turning a blind eye if somebody just constructs something homemade on top of their roof. Like, we're gonna go over there and inspect it, whether they have a permit or not, now, tomorrow, yesterday, forever. Like, we have to make sure that people don't do things that could endanger themselves. There's already rules in the books for that. So, in the perspective of this, there's really only one rationale for it, and that is to assist the police department during special events. And if, honestly, if we don't do it, it just makes their job a little bit more difficult, but it's not the end of the world, so.
We currently have drones,
The fire district does.
and we have Overwatch on some of the buildings for St. Patrick's Day.
Set it up on DC College's rooftop this last spring.
How many?
We had 3, Kane County, so
Okay. And only
The
on
other
that
thing
building?
is, can I say something, Brian, really quick though? We also don't want to disclose everything that we do for safety for all the parades because, like, I know there are secret meetings that, like, I don't even necessarily know about because of, we don't want it all out there where everyone is. So that's, is that fair?
yeah.
Okay.
So, to me, it just seems like we're targeting Zeller by changing the ordinance, I guess. Is there
But
anyone
Zeller
else?
isn't negatively
They're-
affected by this, according
They
to what
would
you're
be
saying.
very negatively affected, like they would lose use of that space if they can't prove they meet a new set of standards that wasn't the set of standards they
But
did
they're
already
saying
meet.
I thought
it
they-
isn't a new set of standards.
yeah, it's the same
building code
standards.
that they probably were following when
Probably.
they did that building.
But they did pass inspection and did this build out. When I did work there in the past, I don't anymore, but when I did, it was like 12 years ago when they built that out, and they built an entire story. So are we accusing them of not doing a building permit and not passing? That's why I feel like we could at least grandfather people in who
I'm
already have
confused.
invested in building a rooftop unit. to
I'm
use
confused
socially.
because I thought my understanding was they already followed everything. It's just a matter of them maintaining what they've already done, so they're not being punished for anything. That was
Right,
what
and
I
that's
was
then applied.
understanding.
There'll be a new
Or
permit
capacity.
process, and they'll need, like,
Will they need to change anything?
It's not, so the proposal
Does
is
it
not
sound
a
like
new
that?
building permit process. So similar to when the porch collapsed in Chicago 20 years ago, somebody said, wow, we should go around and make sure that all these porches are still safe because maybe I constructed it 35 years ago and I didn't maintain it over time. So now there's more strict requirements in place for any balcony that's protruding from an existing structure in Chicago. This is similar to that. If you put up a rooftop deck 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, yeah, we want to come take a look at it and make sure it's still safe. We would hate for somebody to get hurt on it, etc. But that's the same, that clause in the code already exists. Chris can look at any structure in this village and determine if it's unsafe and decide to go and inspect it because that's the purview of the building official. So this is not creating any new layer of difficulty other than we simply want to have a registration of who has these so that when we have special events, we know which ones are allowed to be used and which ones aren't. And it's not targeting anybody. There could be additional ones created in the future when we have different types of conversions of existing structures in the downtown as the downtown continues to be more popular.
So the roof won't be able to be used though all year round. if they don't have it. And so we're talking about parades and gatherings and life safety, and I understand that. But the owner of that home wouldn't be able to use it all year round unless they reached all the requirements of this new ordinance to do whatever they wanted on their roof, which they already might be doing. So maybe the guy goes out and smokes a cigar, I don't know. But it's their home, and it just seems like we're kind of going at it in a strange way. We probably have, 15 flat roofs in the downtown area? So we know 15 flat roofs are there that we'd have to monitor, correct? So it seems like if we're going for just those few events, we're taking away from that homeowner the rest of the time that they could use the roof, that they might be using it already. They might have a table up there. I don't know. I don't go on my roof, but I don't want to tell somebody they can't go on their roof and do what they want because of 3 days a year. So that's kind of my argument.
And it does seem like it's targeting the two roofs that actually do this. And then we'll then know during a parade which two are doing it, but we already know that. And then if they are allowed to use it, there's still the same exact problem of there's people on the roof, it makes people uncomfortable, and it's a safety risk during a parade. Like, it doesn't seem targeted to the parade problem. It just seems applied to the whole rest of the year, and we still have the parade problem, is why I'm feeling like this. I'd rather see some sort of regulation of saying, hey, there's a maximum occupancy for rooftop gatherings that wasn't discussed before, but since there are a lot of people, we want to make sure you don't have 50 if it only holds 12, or something like that seems reasonable, and it can still be used year-round for the normal things, both of these two buildings. And if you say you have to be back from the edge of the building 6-8 feet, or whatever it is a rule that I feel like that would be a reasonable rule to put on them, as opposed to you'll have to pass this new permit, and then if you don't, then you can't use your rooftop anymore. Like, it just seems a little bit extreme for the two that I know of that use it.
Can we get more information and table this?
Sounds great.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to definitely.
And
Well,
have Chris here
I'd like to-
also.
And loop in the
Get Joe
Zellers, because
get
I
Joe
reached out
looped
to
in.
Joe and asked if he had heard about this. He has never heard of it, so I feel like if it affects these two people only, like,
You said
we
two.
should
Who's
pull
the
them.
second?
The one over Aliano's the home, because they are a few down, and it's just a living unit on the very top that I think it's a similar, like, they live in the back half and they have a porch on the front half,
Okay.
and then it lifts up again before it goes over the edge.
And it would affect River Street Tavern moving forward.
Yeah.
Because they have a plan to build.
Well,
so-
and they're gonna get a permit, so I don't see it as an issue to a new building. I think they're used to that. It's just ones that
Just to
already
know.
have gone through the whole permit process. Like, if I had to bring my home up to code, or any of the old 100-year homes in our area, we'd all have to move.
That's the
So,
problem.
so
I think we need to
it's
get
a
Chris
problem
here
with too strict of building codes.
too.
So if they got stricter since they got their permit, I feel like that's not fair to make them redo it. Sorry.
No, I'm laughing at Netflix up there.
Oh.
It's just ridiculous. The movie suggestion was not appropriate.
But yeah, some more info on
Not
what
family-friendly.
what are we gonna require them? Like, I didn't feel like the details that I understand what, like, is it a railing? Is it getting a structural engineer? Like, a really detailed list of, like, what costs are they gonna incur? And then bringing them in to make sure that they have a voice in this too would be helpful in the next round.
And would there
I
be a
agree.
way to go about it where we just did a blanket ordinance, because it sounds like that's what we're looking for, to say there has to be a 42-inch railing, you can't have more than 15 people, village-wide, done. Would that be something that
Depends on
would-
space
legal?
though. It's
It
hard to do.
depends on- No,
I don't know.
I think it.
Unless it's
And I,
DC Cops
permitted,
can
unless
hold
it's,
on to
There
50.
might-
I guess unless
there-
it's permitted for bigger, you know, like if DC Cops is already permitted for bigger, they've already passed the occupancy. I'm talking about for roofs with no regulation on them already. Would there be
Yeah,
a way to make a,
I would be concerned about getting, specific with a 48-inch railing and stuff like that, because there might already be other architectural features that are there as a part of the building, like I know there is on Zeller,
Yeah.
that already serve that purpose. You know, it's already 48 inches tall, or it's already.
Yeah, it's almost 40 inches tall, like a lift, and then another 12 inches of a railing
Right.
might be all they need, but yeah, could be unique to the building.
All right, I think we have direction.
Okay.
Somebody want to make a motion to table this?
I will move to
Postpone,
postpone this until, when do we want to postpone it to?
whatever you want. How long will it take to get some information maybe?
Yeah.
And
Let's
recraft
say-
if we need,
Let's say late summer, August.
first meeting in August?
Okay, I will move to postpone this item until the first meeting in August of 2025.
Second.
Okay. Trustee Oakland?
Yes.
Trustee Kuma?
Yes.
Trustee Sauter?
Yes.
Trustee Saviano?
Yes.
Trustee Coonsey?
Yes.
And Trustee Mahoney?
Yes. Alrighty.
Yes.
Then we have, board reports. Let's start with Brian. Do you have a report this week for anything?
I have nothing.
All right. Andy.
Too new.
It's good to have you.
Just a small one. I talked to Caleb about this, but since we're going to do the bike and pedestrian plan, and since we talked about motorized vehicles being on both the trails, the streets, I feel like there's not a very good signage in our area on what the rules are on the trail. Like, I think it closes at dark is the only very clear rule on the signage. So 15-mile-an-hour speed limit would be a very good one. I think pulling it into the plan and let them decide and look at what's happening in the area is good to give a recommendation to us, but at least having the speed limit being 15 miles an hour, staying to the right and yielding as you pass. Some people will fly by at 15 miles an hour when there's kids and dogs on leashes, and it's clear you shouldn't go that fast past, so yielding as you pass. And then maybe no extension leashes for dogs, like that just shouldn't be allowed on the trail because they'll run across in front of bikes, and I've heard of accidents. So
Does the bike path have specific rules already?
yeah,
I
like
just wanna make sure
within
we
our
align with
downtown
that.
where, you know, we can do our own, but they do have 15 miles an hour as an existing speed limit.
Okay.
There is a page you can go to with a QR code to see what e-bikes are allowed and not allowed, but I think nobody scans those and looks at the website. So I think defining if it's class 1, 2, or 3, class 3 should not be allowed because they're like 30 to 40 miles an hour. But there's gas-powered e-bikes I think should be not allowed. There's a lot of just gas dirt bike motorcycles flying down the trail. But keeping it electric would probably be a good rule to throw in there. But those are my suggestions, but would like it to be just worked into that process.
You talking about just for downtown?
Signage really clear in the downtown, but I think it should apply to the rest of the trail. We just don't have jurisdiction once we get out of the downtown. But I think if we make it really clear as you go through Dundee what the rules are, at least here, I think those kind of apply. I think it's, once you're outside of the downtown, it's not super clear on what all the rules are.
It's not.
Who would enforce something like that?
The King County Forest Preserve, I think, is who's in charge of it, right? Like Chris Caius or whoever's in charge right now there. Yeah. So we could coordinate with them and other suburbs to make sure it's not like random weird rules as you hit our downtown, but
Yeah.
if we need them, we could still do that. But
I know.
I'm kind of with Brian on that. If we go buying signs for something, how, we really can't enforce it, because who's gonna be sitting there with a radar gun knowing how fast everyone's going?
well, and another idea that we could do is put the little radar thing up that tells you there is one on the trail in Algonquin, but it's in the middle of nowhere and nobody cares because there's no way that anybody's manning it or doing anything. But if it's near an intersection and you can see, and police could see somebody fly by at 30, 40 miles an hour on a gas-powered, but if it is like no gas-powered bikes, I think that's an easy one to pull them over. I mean, it's not easy to pull them over probably because they're all over the place, but easy to identify.
There's a bike, a police bike, don't you
I do think some awareness was probably good on the bike path,
Yeah.
especially in our downtown, because I walk with my family and then I'm like, oh, we're on the bike path. Like, we're just like nonchalantly walking on it and then we move to the side and get over. But it's easier to forget that you're on the bike path once you get into the downtown, where when you're north or south of it, it's much more, you're in the zone because it's just the bike path. So.
Yeah, and the other idea I was thinking is like a yellow line in the middle so that people understand. I think people go out and they're walking in a big group and they don't know about bikes yet until a few buzz by. But seeing the yellow line, you understand like, oh, people will be passing on one side. So I don't know if when we get to our downtown, we just want for pedestrian safety to have a little extra signage so that people don't get hit where the concentration of walkers goes up a lot in our downtown.
Sounds like we should get Kane County to pay for that.
They won't in our downtown, but we can tell them to do outside of the
That's our
downtown,
part.
because we do own our trail, like from Hager to.
Plow it for winter time.
Okay, so we have to spend all the money to upkeep it, but we don't own it, yeah. But they won't do it for that stretch.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Sandy? You good?
No, that's all.
All
Thanks.
right, Tricia?
No report.
Scott?
Phil, speaking of the bike path, I don't know where our border is, but outside of Hager Pottery, there's a wooden bridge, and there's a big sinkhole opening up on the edge of the
We
bridge.
saw that, and we have cones on it as we speak, and
Okay.
that's gonna be our next project. The bridge itself needs some planks replaced, we may have to actually replace some of the structural components, beneath the planks, and also some patching on one side.
Okay, good. We had our Quadcom meeting last week, a couple things there. We talked about the drones that the fire district has. Well, Quadcom is looking to purchase some drones that would cover their entire area and could be used by possibly municipalities as well. At least our police station. So that is something that they're exploring right now. The other thing they're exploring is a mass public alert system, which I know we've been looking at. But they said that, they were saying that it would have sort of a Quadcom border notification system, but also each municipality could have their own sub group where we can actually use it just for our residents or our area. And they said it would even be able to be used by Public Works, not just fire or police stations. So that's something that, both of those things would be obviously a cost, but it has the opportunity to be a lot cheaper than us going alone on it, as it would be shared by all the different municipalities that are part of Quadcom. So that's something to keep in mind.
That's great.
And that is all I have.
Matt?
Yes, I do got a couple things to report on. I did the Thursday, and I just want to say how nice of a job it went. We did the garage opening, and it doesn't just open the garage, it opens all the different options that we get with that, and it was cool to see everybody out there. But Thursday, I felt the village did such a good job. I know Catherine Deal does a lot with the band and everything, and until you really embrace it and understand how everything that goes together, how fast they put it up and how fast they take it down. I just want to say the police did a great job, Public Works, staff, it is great. I like the tent ideas outside the businesses. It made it really friendly to just kind of go around and buy stuff. I know people are talking about, opening it up to just going to the businesses too, which is neat with me. I just like the tent kind of is inviting. You see them making nachos and all of a sudden you want them. So that was really cool. And I look forward to the Wind Down Wednesday on June 11 to see how that one goes too. So I just want to say great job, everybody. So.
Cool. And then, speaking of the events, Franco, I'd like to take a look at setting up another community events meeting. Welcome to the committee, Ryan. Did you know?
Did you know you're on it?
Next week. Okay.
I think that's called voluntold.
It's you, me, and Kathleen.
Oh, by the way. So I'd like to get that set up after the first Motor Monday and Wine on Wednesday. So that would be sometime after, the first one, Motor Monday is the 16th, the Wine on Wednesday, and the, so anyways, sometime between the 16th and the 26th, which is the second Thirsty Thursday. And the agenda for that would be to debrief and get an update on this new setup that we had, because they're all slightly different for each one. Thirsty Thursdays being the most intense, and get some feedback from the businesses, both adjacent to the depot grounds and then across the street. The other ones that were set up in tents, to see if we need to do any tweaking for the rest of the year, or if we need to go back to the old way or hybrid thereof. And that would give us enough time, because we would have one more Motor Monday and Wind Down Wednesday.
You want to do this
Yep.
between June 16th and June 26th?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if we can get some just general feedback from the businesses, as well as the people that staffed, and any other ideas for tweaking for the next round. Also, I talked to Matt on Saturday. He's planning on getting us a market update sometime this week, see how the market is doing. Seems like everything's running pretty smoothly. They had a decent turnout this weekend. It was really nice out, but I know they're working on promoting and more ideas on that.
The Sunday one kicks off this weekend, right?
Yes, yeah. And then the other item on the agenda would be the depot decor schedule. I sent an email right before this about the bunting possibility, and Phil, if I can get on your schedule or get an idea of what your schedule is, or if you'd want to have it aligned with when you're changing out the banners, or if it could be, a week or two off or something like that. But basically looking at 4 different times of the year where we would do something special. We've already got Christmas going, and then doing the bunting from Memorial Day through Labor Day, so that covers Flag Day, 4th of July. And so there's something kind of getting refreshed to the outside, again, attracting people to the depot.
Get our 12-foot skeletons.
The 12-foot skeletons, yeah, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I might know somebody who can provide Santa hats for those 12-foot skeletons come Christmas time. So.
Perfect.
Then the last thing would be not events, committee related.
Are you picking a date now?
Can we do it by?
I'll poll the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our favorite subject, truck routes, Chief and Phil. I was walking on Bonnie Dundee, up Bonnie Dundee at 2:30 today with my dog and my spouse, and heard this massive rumble, and the next thing we know, we've got Prairie cement truck coming down, spinning Prairie Materials at about 2:30, which is a road that's clearly marked no trucks. It sounded like they went all the way past the neighborhood. So I don't know if we can reach out to them to remind their truck drivers of Prairie Materials that it's a non-truck route, and that they needed to find another route, or if they did have business within that area, it would be good to know. Because I'll take my little badge and take pictures next time so we can send them a fine or something like that. I don't know, is there a fine for that?
So the way we're able to do it is based on length, is the way our ordinance is. It's over 30 feet long, so,
Yeah.
Yes, there's a fine associated.
Okay.
And it's just real quick, I don't take your word, there has been increased compliance since we started educating.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Okay, staff. We'll start with Erica just because you're next.
No
one.
report.
No report? Attorney? Bronco? Caleb? Chief?
Just to add what Trustee Kunze was saying, we demo the products, the map notification products on the 9th and 10th.
Okay.
Report back.
Looking forward to it. Oh, congratulations on your new officers.
Oh,
your
yeah.
new staff.
So
That's
exciting.
very exciting. It's very exciting to see all those young fresh faces. Let's keep them here.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Bill? All right. With that, I will take a motion.
Are we doing an
to-
executive session?
Yeah. Do we do have executive?
For C6, I take it?
Is it sale or purchase?
Sale.
6.
Yes. Okay, I will move to close this meeting to the public and media under the provisions of the Illinois Open Meeting Acts 5 ILCS 120/2 for C1 Personnel and Legal Counsel and for C6 Sale of Property.
Second.
We will not be returning to public
Open
session.
Thank you. Still.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, it has to be roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
I'm sorry. Trustee Oakland?
Aye.
Trustee Guma?
Aye.
Trustee Sauter?
Yes.
Trustee Saviano?
Yes.
Trustee Kunze?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes. All right, with
Is
that.
it fast or is it gonna be long?
Very short.
Very short. Okay, perfect. I'll stay right here.
Hey, Dolores, it's nice to see you.